Hello, dear friends. They are still scaremongering with the old obsolete Blue Beam project, when the heaven have been telling us for years that this conspiracy is not going to work. On the other hand, other surprising wild events are taking place. Opinion piece. Something big is coming. It's all very messy. The Blue Beam is not scary. Last resort of the bad guys. If they use it, it won't last long. Fewer wolves with the Blue Beam. Matthew Watt said it would fail. Sri Lankan president flees. Wild hunger on the rise. How much more do we have to see? The days of the dark ones are numbered. Biggest rate hike ever announced. This crisis cannot go on ad infinitum. Earth's dominance is not in the divine plan. Let's start. Something really big is coming. Events are coming in rapid succession, one after the other, like dominoes, but they cannot go on ad infinitum. The resignation of Boris Johnson, the destruction of the Georgia's guiding stones at the same time as the old economic system is being destroyed, the assassination of Japan's former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe after he was shot during a speech, and the alleged intention of the Ukrainian generals to remove President Zelensky from office are very clear signs that something really big is about to happen, and it has only just begun. To complicate matters further, G20 foreign ministers have failed to find a common position on the Ukraine conflict. Moscow is inundated by a stormy deluge. European farmers' protests are spreading to Poland and Italy, and the storm is even hitting northern Spain. The heat wave could last a week, and temperatures will reach over 40 degrees Celsius in some regions. How much more is there to see? Much more, because this has only just begun. In addition, Elon Musk has cancelled the deal to buy Twitter. It's all very messy, and whoever has eyes should see and draw conclusions. Even the president of Sri Lanka has fled, his official residence occupied by thousands of protesters. Meanwhile, the Russian army is gaining ground in eastern Ukraine, and hunger is on the rise in the world according to the latest United Nations report. This crisis spills over into the economy as the Fed announces the biggest interest rate hike in 28 years to combat inflation. Fewer wolves. The fear that the old Blue Beam project about the fake alien invasion is being exaggerated, in my opinion, based on many sources of information that have confirmed that this plan will not go very far. It is possible that many are still unaware of the dark team's plans to scare people with a supposed invasion at the hands of fake aliens from outer space. Once again, we hear rumors of the Blue Beam project, a holographic spectacle depicting an alien invasion designed to provoke fear unusual in martial law. If that is the case, we may want to remember some messages about Project Blue Beam and its likely outcome. I don't think the bad guys have the resources at their disposal right now to achieve all the chaos and destruction they dreamed of, but it is possible that they will opt for theater. In fact, with all the information available now, it will most likely be entertaining at best, and it may not come to any kind of fruition at all. However, it's important to remain focused on truth and love, and to reclaim our sovereign right to the uncompromising and fearful. The media has been putting this out in the form of soft disclosure for quite some time, apparently preparing us for what they hoped and planned to achieve. My Kinsey's sources warned that the clique, in a last-ditch attempt to avoid the end of their control, may organize what in recent years has been called the Blue Beam Project. If it were to happen, I don't think it would last long before the Galactics shut it down, according to Steve Biko. There is a very simple logic to this. The Galactics allow us to deceive each other while respecting free will, but they would never allow mass deception in their own name, nor would they allow anyone to impersonate their true identity. They have had too much trouble making their benevolent intentions known to allow some idiot to portray them as Hollywood monsters. Bad intentions. The Blue Beam is a top-secret US project that uses holographic and other technologies to project images of spacecraft or religious figures into the Earth's atmosphere. It is designed to be used to manipulate followers of various religions and sell them a new religion designed to suit the Illuminati's purposes. Dr. Carol Rosin claims that an alien invasion scenario has been in the planning stages since the 70s, as she isn't it herself. My Kinsey sources say the dark ones are considering using it now, in quotes. The dark and their cohorts propose to put into action a last great attempt to regain lost ground by faking an alien attack. It would be very realistic, and you would perceive spaceships and beings that would look exactly like those you are familiar with. Some ships would only be holograms and would look quite normal. Therefore, you would be warned of their intentions so that fear could be mitigated or prevented as much as possible. Scaremongering would be the aim of the exercise. Mike's sources say, in quotes, creating fear is the goal of such an event and is, as you would call it, their latest roll of the dice, and could easily mislead those who are unprepared or misinformed. If it ever becomes a reality, those of you in the know can be invaluable to humankind in helping to prevent mass hysteria. Be assured, however, that no action will be allowed to get out of control and that the forces of light are waiting, but for comic reasons cannot directly interfere in such events to prevent them from happening. It would be the only time you will ever have to face such a situation. Failure. Let's listen to what the Company of Heaven has said over the years about the Blue Beam Project and its likely response. Matthew Watt referred to the project as far back as 2008 and said that if used, it would fail. In quotes. There are pockets of speculation, even belief, that as a last resort to maintain control, the dark ones in power will stage a space invasion to unify all peoples in a common fear of alien invaders. Thereafter, the handlers would impose martial law, arrest its centers on a massive scale, and create chaos never before seen on the planet. While giving no acknowledgement to the many resorts of UFOs in the sky, they would plausibly try to fit these spacecraft sightings into their invasion plans. What is in chaos is the mentality of those who would attempt such a stunt. There will be no space invasion, and you can rely on your benevolent brothers and sisters to thwart efforts to flush the little greys in battle gear out of their underground cities, as proof that the aliens have landed. In 2011, Salusa of Sirius offered us a glimpse into the intentions of the Galactics if Project Bluebeam aiming were to be attempted. In quotes, rest assured that we are fully aware of the Dark One's plan to stage a fake attack, and will ensure that it fails. So much authority is given to us, and would have been prevented even if a real attack was intended. Our fleets number thousands of ships, and we would not stand by allow your precious Earth to be violated. Most of the problems the galactic encounter in space, we are told, in quotes, will be solved quickly by grounding any weapons or ships that are intended to be used against us. We don't have to encounter them in space, as we don't want to give the impression that we are aggressive or unwarlike. That would be playing into the hands of the Dark Ones, who have anyway considered creating a fake encounter to put fear into your hearts. As we vastly outnumber their forces and weaponry, it would be utterly futile for them to try to attack us. Dismissed. Commander Hutton, through Susie Watt, explained that the Galactics have the means to defeat the Glick's plans. In quotes, I want to debunk the warning that the aliens, posing as friends, are actually base entities who want to take over your world. Swill. The grid of light around the planet prevents any civilizations with dark intentions from being near Earth, and if the bad guys try to put their own secret craft in disguise and take out some of the greys living underground and claim it is an invasion, we can stop that charade before it starts. Salusa assures us that the Galactics have never done anything harmful, in quotes again. We have never given them reason to fear us, and we are careful not to take actions that would distress them. In fact, over a period of time, we have occasionally taken actions that have helped them to solve a problem that may not have been part of their karma. One day not too far in the future, you will see us and know us as the friends we are, and we will go together into an attractive future that promises much. Furthermore, Earth's dominance is not in the divine plan, he reminds us, in quotes. It is not in the plan for the end times, for you have earned the right to ascend, and your free will choice will be honored. The Dark Ones can only go so far as your karma is concerned, before we stop them in their tracks. That is easy enough for us. With our advanced technology, and not a drop of blood would be shed. You will not have to put up with the activities of the Dark Ones for much longer, as their days are numbered. Tin ships. In 2008, the Adamu called the spaceships of the bad guys tin toys and party favors. Some of you have all sorts of fears about the so-called Bluebeam project. Others fear that our ships will be attacked, and this could trigger a war and so on. If we are able, in quotes, if we are able to surround your planet with millions of ships of living light, if we are able to carry ships across thousands of light years in an instant, if our consciousness resides outside of space and time, if we can manifest the ship many miles wide by desire alone, if we can defeat an enemy at war without even attacking them, if we can disable their nuclear devices without touching them, if we can balance your planetary magnetosphere, if we can do all these things and much more, do you honestly believe that the teen toys and party favors of your earthly clique would stand in our way? They can't. They would destroy us, but they can't. We could destroy them, but we won't. And that is the state of the game. It would seem at first glance to provoke stalemate, but it is not so. We are winning, and you know how we proceed to win? Not by attacking them, not by hurting them, but by loving them. Each and every behind that comes to us and says, I am tired of fighting, I am tired of fear, I am tired of pain, I am tired of being alone. Each one is welcome to us, and so, over time, it's absolutely unavoidable that everything comes back to unity. So, in desperation, they might take the blue bin off the shelf, dust it off, and run it in some cities like New York, Washington, and Los Angeles. If they use it, it won't last long. If it's an outdoor theater near you, sit back and enjoy. Best to get there early, not reserved seating. And remember, if there are thrills and chills, it's just a movie. Economy. Fed announces biggest rate hike in 28 years to fight inflation. The Fed is quietly doling out $250 million in interest payments a day to a small group of unnamed beneficiaries, according to Edward Morgan. Goldman Sachs say, in quotes, the world is on the brink of a very severe recession. World hunger increased in 2021 according to the latest United Nations report. Musk cancels Twitter buyout and Tech threatens legal battle. Elon Musk cancels deal to buy Twitter. In a letter, Musk's representatives accused Twitter of in quotes, material breach of multiple provisions of the purchase agreement. Europe. Germany. Uniper applies for state aid. Germany's largest natural gas trader is on the verge of bankruptcy. Protests by European farmers spread to Poland and Italy in a major backlash against the mandates. Moscow is inundated by a stormy deluge. Parts of the Russian capital were flooded by heavy rain, while strong winds reportedly ripped the roof of several buildings and toppled trees across the city. The weather also partially halted the work of the Moscow metro and disrupted car traffic. Romania. Flooding caused by a natural disaster turned cities upside down within an hour. Severe flooding in Craiova, Romania. European Union and Morocco to launch joint investigations into border management in the wake of the Melilla crisis. European storm hits Spain. Hailstorm caused flooding in Andorra, Teruel. Americas. López Obrador criticizes Texas governor's order to send migrants back to the border. Colombia confirms the legality of fracking, a controversial technique that increases hydrocarbon extraction. Second day of protests in Panama to denounce the high cost of living and demand that the government take action. Havana residents live in fear of collapse, with hundreds of buildings in critical condition. Ukraine. Russian army gains ground in eastern Ukraine. G20 foreign ministers failed to find a common position on the conflict in Ukraine. The Pentagon announces a new $400 million military aid package for Ukraine. The new package includes supplying Kiev with HIMARS, multiple rocket launchers, and demolition weapons, among other equipment. Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's president flees his official residence occupied by thousands of protesters. Hundreds of protesters occupy the official residence of the Sri Lankan president. Sri Lanka has completely collapsed as the Prime Minister declares the nation bankrupt due to food and energy inflation. Prices in Sri Lanka have doubled due to fuel shortages. The island is completely dependent on imported energy resources and has no money to buy them from Western countries. The government now has to fight both the economic crisis and civil unrest. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.